Arthur Lewin found himself rudely awakened by the gruff, teasing voice of Virion, his face uncomfortably close, grinning broadly in the dim light of the training room. "Gah!" Arthur yelped, sitting up so fast he nearly headbutted the old elf. Laughter erupted around him. Emily and his sister couldn't contain their giggles, and even Boo and Sylvie seemed amused by the scene. "Damn it, Virion, your face is terrifying," Arthur muttered, still disoriented from his nap. Virion, unfazed by the insult, only chuckled more. "You were smiling so widely in your sleep, I had to know what dream could possibly make you so happy," he teased, his eyebrows doing a suggestive dance. Questioning Virion's suitability to lead the continent's entire army, Arthur managed to suppress an eye roll. Virion lounged against the cold metal wall, as nonchalant as an old man in a village square, and shrugged off the comment. It wasn't a lewd smile, Arthur defended himself, to Ellie's quick retort that it was indeed kind of creepy. It was just a dream about simpler times, Arthur clarified, though he kept some details to himself. Sylvie, his vulpine bond, pressed him quietly, worried it might be a memory from his past life, but Arthur reassured her. The conversation shifted as he caught sight of Kathleen and the three elders preparing for their training session. Arthur's rest had been fitful, his sleep disturbed by his futile attempts to manipulate mana without interference from the achlorite embedded in his right hand. He vividly remembered discussing with Virion about his mysterious training assistant and her background. Virion had met Alanis during a visit to the southern borders, impressed by her handling of a crisis involving corrupted beasts, creatures tainted by the sinister Vritra. Alanis had been brought over to assess and strengthen the lances under Virion's command, a decision that seemed more prudent as Arthur recalled it while shaking off the remnants of sleep. Now fully awake, Arthur was ready to dive into the rigors of training. Emily approached with an updated set of training gear, simpler than before, designed to enhance his spellcasting without hindering movement. Alanis joined them, her eyes serious as she discussed the training plan she'd tailored for Arthur, a 7-week regimen focused on honing his control over his lesser elements through various combat scenarios. Despite the rigor of the schedule, Arthur was amused by the complexity Alanis and Virion had concocted. Training would be unpredictable. His opponents would switch without warning, and he would be restricted from using one randomly chosen element during each session. As Virion left the room with a light-hearted warning to Alanis not to break Arthur, the old elf's departure marked the start of an intense training session. Emily declared everything set for the day's exercises. Before Arthur could even ask who he'd be sparring with first, the floor beneath him activated, catapulting him into the air. An unexpected maneuver by Bund, the bearded dwarf with a penchant for surprises. Twisting midair to face his first challenger, Arthur saw Bund waiting with arms wide open, an eager smile on his face. Arthur couldn't help but smile back, energized by the challenge. With mana coursing through his hand, he thought, "At least I won't be bored." The training session promised to be as demanding as it was unconventional, but Arthur was ready for whatever came his way. In a dazzling display of magic and power, Arthur collapsed his protective spell just as he dove into the ground, seamlessly shifting the earth above to cover his descent. Below the surface, he felt the tremors of Hester's powerful attack resonating above. Without a moment's hesitation, Arthur manipulated the earth, moving slowly underground, using his seismic perception spell to pinpoint the location of his adversaries. As he sensed a more potent version of his spell in action, he realized the stakes were higher than he anticipated. Arthur wasn't as adept at underground maneuvering as the experts like Bund, who swam through earth as if it were water. But that didn't matter. It was Hester's turn to be surprised. Gathering mana quickly around his right fist, Arthur was set for his final assault. With a surge of wind mana at his feet, he propelled himself upwards, erupting from the ground as black lightning coiled menacingly around his right arm. Below him, Hester stood, her arms transformed into fiery blades intertwined with crackling electricity, poised for her finishing move. But Arthur was faster. As he descended upon her, the black lightning unleashed from his arm clashed with Hester's fiery blades. The collision spawned a massive sphere of fire and lightning, growing until it exploded, engulfing them in a blinding light. Nearby, Kathleen Glader, amidst the chaos, focused on Arthur's little sister, ready to conjure a protective barrier. But before she could react, the ground beneath her sank, shielding her from the shockwave that roared above. As the debris settled, Elder Bond greeted Kathleen with a chuckle. "Careful, Princess." Both turned their attention back to the aftermath, where Arthur, though disheveled, stood victorious, while Hester was enveloped in a pink glow, signaling her defensive artifact had activated. Amidst the aftermath, excitement buzzed as Miss Watson celebrated the artifact's success, much to the skepticism of Arthur's sister, who expected no less from a device designed to protect her brother. Elder Camus, curious about Arthur's performance, inquired about his mana flow readings during the battle. Miss Alanis reported impressive improvements in Arthur's spellcasting capabilities, highlighting his rapid growth. The discussion was soon interrupted by the arrival of Commander Varion and General Barion, along with Master Varay. After exchanging pleasantries and a few passive-aggressive quips, they shifted their focus to the training at hand. Master Varay, removing her cloak to reveal her battle attire, prepared to join the fray. The anticipation of her participation stirred excitement among those present, though Emily voiced concerns about the artifact's capacity to handle another intense duel. As the training ground buzzed with activity and preparations for the next round, Arthur helped Hester to her feet, the two competitors acknowledging each other's prowess with a nod, ready to learn from the day's challenges and eager to face what was next. Kathleen watched intently as Arthur and Master Varay squared off, a mere dozen feet separating them in the now tense and silent room. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation, each mage radiating powerful auras that seemed to clash even before the battle began. Miss Watson, the artificer, nervously announced the readiness of the barrier, her voice barely above a whisper. At her signal, Master Varay was enveloped by a shimmering silver-blue barrier, contrasting with Arthur's vibrant, multi-hued aura, reflecting his diverse magical affinities. The gathered commanders and elders, including Commander Varion and General Barion, watched the duel unfold with bated breath, their eyes locked on the two combatants. As Master Varay initiated the duel with a sudden disappearance and strike, Arthur was quick to react, dodging her ice-laden attack by a hair's breadth. The ground where Master's frozen lance hit turned into a frosty canvas, spreading ice rapidly across the dirt. Arthur, deciding to challenge Master with his own ice magic, retaliated with a frost shockwave, which Master easily dissolved, turning his own spell into ammunition for her next attack. With a graceful motion, she summoned spears of ice, directing them at Arthur with a mere clench of her fist. Despite the onslaught, Arthur's agility was on full display as he weaved through the icy barrage, his movements creating after-images, a testament to his incredible speed. Bund, observing from the sidelines, couldn't hide his frustration at Arthur's previously unseen speed. Commander Varion remarked on Arthur's tendency to reserve his full strength, suggesting that against Master Varay, he was truly pushed to his limits. Hester, still recovering from her own duel with Arthur, wondered why he hadn't used his powerful Realm Heart form, to which Arthur's sister playfully hinted that Arthur was savoring the joy of the battle. As Kathleen's attention briefly returned to the duel, the scene had transformed into a winter wonderland created by their spells. Master Varay, countering Arthur's attack, conjured a magnificent frost dragon, its icy breath clashing with Arthur's brilliant blue flames. The collision of their formidable spells resulted in a spectacular explosion, causing shockwaves that necessitated protective barriers by Elder Camus to shield the onlookers. In the aftermath, as the dust and steam cleared, Arthur and Master Varay were seen poised in midair, ready to continue their duel. Arthur cleverly used wind magic to counter the drop in air pressure caused by the cold, a tactical error he humorously acknowledged. Master Varay responded by launching frost spheres strategically around Arthur, who, sensing the impending threat, shielded himself with a whirlwind of blue fire, demonstrating his adeptness at combining fire and wind magic to enhance his defense. The final moment of their duel saw Arthur unleashing a massive spear of fire and lightning, cleverly accelerated with a last-minute burst of wind magic. As it hurtled towards Master Varay, she prepared multiple layers of ice barriers, a testament to the power she anticipated from Arthur's attack. The duel, rich with strategic magic and powerful displays, not only showcased their abilities, but also hinted at the depth of their mastery and the respect they held for each other's skills. As the duel between Arthur and Master Varay escalated, the intensity in the room reached its peak. Arthur, having transformed into a formidable form that distorted space itself, faced off against Master Varay, who had elevated her own abilities to match his power. Arthur, now cloaked in black lightning, and his aura radiating an overwhelming power, seemed to have reached a new level of mastery. The onlookers, aware of the destructive potential, took precautions. Miss Watson and General Barion were busy fortifying the protective barrier, while Boone, thinking practically, created an earthen bunker to shield everyone from potential fallout. In the sunken area provided by Boone's quick thinking, the spectators had a clear view of the two titanic figures in the distance. Master Varay, appearing as a translucent ice sculpture, contrasted starkly with Arthur, who resembled a deity clad in storm and fire. The room was filled with the sounds of mana clashing, pops and cracks that reverberated through the air as Arthur and Master Varay's spells collided and canceled each other out before they could fully manifest. This phenomenon puzzled everyone, especially Arthur's sister, who squinted in confusion at the sight. General Barion explained that Arthur was countering Master Varay's spells preemptively, a testament to his exceptional abilities and the advanced state he had achieved. As the duel turned to close combat, the two exchanged rapid, powerful blows, their ice swords clashing and chipping in a dance of frost and light. Arthur's swordplay was fluid and precise, each movement blending seamlessly into the next, constantly on the offensive and crafting new weapons from ice as quickly as his previous ones shattered. Despite the intensity of the melee, Arthur's expression revealed his enjoyment, a stark contrast to the seriousness of the battle. He was genuinely having fun, his face lit with a smile that showed his passion for the magical duel. Meanwhile, Master Varay, undeterred by Arthur's aggressive approach, managed her defenses skillfully, her ice-clad form allowing her flexibility in both defense and attack. Yet, Arthur's speed and ability to preemptively counter her spells put her at a slight disadvantage in their exchanges. From the sidelines, Elder Bund and Elder Camus engaged in a light-hearted bet about the outcome of the duel, each choosing their champion based on their observations of the battle. Hester and General Barion also placed their bets, showing their faith in their respective choices. Miss Emeria, meanwhile, was fascinated by the acceleration of Arthur's mana flow, her eyes flitting between the duel and her notes, capturing every detail of his performance. As the duel reached its climax, the room buzzed with excitement and anticipation. Commander Virion's chuckle echoed lightly, encapsulating the spirit of the moment. Everyone's attention was riveted on the two combatants, waiting to see who would emerge as the victor in this epic showdown of magical prowess, and losing despite his efforts. The elders, including Virion, Byron, and the others, provided him with feedback, pointing out his overuse of certain elements and lack of strategic diversity. Cathlon sparred with Bund, ultimately conceding after an intense match. Later, Camus challenged Arthur to a demonstration, showing him how to use wind magic defensively by manipulating air pressure to neutralize attacks. Arthur struggled to grasp the technique at first, but eventually understood it. Camus pointed out Arthur's tendency to focus on offense and encouraged him to explore defensive strategies with all elements. The session ended with Arthur reflecting on his shortcomings while the others continued their training or retired for the night. Arthur continued his intense training with Bund and Camus, facing challenges that tested his adaptability and strategic thinking. He learned to counter Camus's wind-based attacks by using wind manipulation instead of brute force, and later discovered how to redirect the impact of Bund's powerful earth-based strikes by channeling mana through his body into the ground. Though successful, the strain left him sore and exhausted. After the sparring session, Arthur reflected on his growth while his sister Ellie and Emily teased him about his overprotectiveness. Meanwhile, Camus revealed his past struggles, including the loss of his wife and his sight, which he compensated for with masterful wind control. Later that night, Arthur found Sylvie undergoing strange transformations while absorbing mana from Uto's horn. Though she reassured him of her well-being, Arthur couldn't help but feel concerned. Despite his struggles in absorbing the horn's mana, Sylvie seemed to be progressing naturally. With fatigue setting in, Arthur resolved to push forward with his training, aiming to break into the white core stage soon.